Okay, so what's good, everyone? I'm gonna rant a little bit on a subject that it really annoys me. The amount of, and I've gotten this question a lot too. It annoys me the amount of demonology warlocks that are specifically rolling that class and that spec in order to get prioritized loot. It is a common thing that's done in private servers is to give demonology warlocks the loot. And the issue is none of that loot is going to the argument is that the demonology warlock's going to bring a raid buff for everybody. So it only makes sense. Oh yeah, he's going to have more spell power, so he gives the entire raid more spell power, blah, blah, blah. That's great, but the way that you actually play around the buff is, and in order to have the maximized buff, is by playing around your trinket procs, playing around your tailoring procs, maybe even full-on AFKing your character to maintain a good demonic pact buff for your raid. And what does that mean? That means that several of your items aren't even going to be highly contested items. So, for example, the trinket from OS 25, it's a illustration of the Dragon Soul. It gives a passive 200 spell power. So that passive 200 spell power is going to equate to 20 spell power for the entire raid. This trinket is also highly contested amongst many other casters. It's BIS for a ton of casters. It's going to be BIS for several tiers. I'm pretty sure it's BIS for a ton of classes until tier 9. And specifically, what annoys me with wanting that trinket and several other items that they think that they should get first. They think that they should get Dying Curse first. It's just crazy to me that you're so selfish and simultaneously so lazy to figure out how your demonic pact works, and you just have your pet on full auto attack, and you have the audacity to say that you deserve the loot first. Are you fucking crazy? Okay, if you are playing demonology in a way that your pet is AFK and you are prioritizing your trinkets, you're prioritizing getting the maximum amount of demonic pact spell power for your raid, then yes, you can have priority on something like Dying Curse. I would gladly give you the first turning tide. But Ilu? That's not even, it's not even good. It's good for demonology. No, it's good to do damage, but it's not a support demo trinket. You wouldn't even use that trinket. You would use another spell power trinket that has a bigger proc that is going. So, for example, in my head, you would go Sundial. Sundial is 590 spell power for 10 seconds. And that in combination with something like Dying Curse. Let's just talk about just Sundial specific. Sundial versus Ilu. Sundial is going to give you 590 spell power if you were to weave it with your pet, or if you were to get it with your pet. So 590 spell power is going to equate 59 spell power to your raid. Whereas Ilu, not only do you have to pre-stack it, so if you were to just send in your pet immediately, your pet might buff the raid with literally like a 20 spell power proc because you're not at 10 stacks yet. But at its highest point, it's going to be a 200 spell power proc. So you're essentially taking away what is that, 40 spell power from your raid? Like, and you're taking a big trinket? Like, that's insane. That's crazy to me. 40 spell power is, I mean, that's like it's like half of a trinket for a lot of people. Or maybe a fourth of a trinket. But even still, like, just play either pick support demo, in which case, yes, you would get prioritized on large spell power proc items. So this would be Flare the Heavens out of Ulduar. This would be a Dying Curse out of Nax. This would be, you would get the first weapon, spell power weapon that drops. So, like, for example, in Nax, you would get Turning Tide first. In Ulduar, you would get Star Shard Edge first. But if you are not playing that way, if you're playing for damage, and just be honest, if you're playing for damage, if you're playing, I don't consider it selfish. If you're playing not support demo, if you are not paying attention to the raid buff that is going out on the raid, you don't deserve priority number 1 on all of the loot. That's fucking crazy. And that's all I gotta say. But I just had to get that rant out. And a lot of people aren't going to agree with that, but I don't care. Okay, so before you go, I wanted to just give a quick demonstration on the demonic pact buff and how it works in Wrath. So just to read off this, basically it gives your raid a buff, which is 10% of your current spell power, and is refreshed after 20 seconds. So essentially, once your trinkets and such have procced and they've fallen off, your pet is just sitting there on auto attack, and it will, after your spell power goes down from losing your trinket buffs, it will just auto refresh and lose your raid's massive spell power proc buff. And because of that, it's essentially worthless to be giving your demo lock all these buffs or all this gear just to have their proc doing nothing. The weapon is a little bit different because the weapon is just a passive thing. It's not a trinket or whatever, but it's still, if you look at a weapon upgrade, it's like 10 spell power. If you're a support demo and you're really trying to get the biggest spell power for your raid, your trinkets are going to be significantly more important than your weapon would be. Your trinket is going to give you, if you were to go Alu, as I keep bringing that example, if you were to go Alu versus Sundial, your Sundial, which is a lower trinket, lower item level trinket, your Sundial is going to give you 4 or 5 times as much raid support as a weapon upgrade would be. Okay, so this is the demonstration of the actual, like, how you would utilize all your procs and such to get the biggest buff. Okay, so as you can see, my couple trinkets proc there, and boom, way higher. And if I leave my pet just auto attacking, in 15 seconds, this buff is going to be trash, basically. Okay, so after 20 seconds, as you just saw, the buff was just removed by having my pet auto attacking.